Hey, what's going on, ladies and gents? It's Grim here, and yes, finally, I get my grubby mitts on Warhammer Armageddon 40k! Oh, now I will caveat that by saying this is actually recorded from a friend of mine's PC because I have a couple of games that are on my Christmas wish list. Early access to Mordheim is one of them. There's a couple others on Steam that I'm interested in. Grim Dawn is another one, and I kind of put them out there for Christmas. Say, guys, if you're stumped as what to get me, these are things I'd like. And if they don't, I buy them in the new year. And if they do, all good. So, this is taken from a friend of mine who bought the game and let me play it. Let me have a little go. I haven't played multiplayer yet, and I've played a little bit of the campaign. I played up to... you've got the tutorial, you've got Invasion. I think I've just finished Invasion. Hope I got that correct. But anyway, let's get on to my impressions and what I think and yada yada yada. I will say this, I'm going to jump straight in and go... I'm not sure, and this is the thing I've got to keep saying to myself, because I want to make sure this is balanced and fair. It's very hard to play this game and not be trixied, not be blindsided by the fact it is Warhammer 40k. And as a huge Warhammer 40k fan, I adore almost everything 40k. So it's very hard to say, okay, Grim, just just get the, you know, when you got the sticker and the little edge is just starting to come up, just grab that edge, just peel it off and have a look at what's underneath. And what's underneath will disappoint you if you are not a Warhammer 40k fan. Now, the first thing is, they have taken Panzer Corps and they have layered on top of it the veneer of Warhammer. And the problem is, they kind of assume that you know their games and you know what's going on. Because when you jump into it, there is a tutorial, but the tutorial tells you really nothing. It's like, you could move by clicking here. You can click on that and you'll kill it. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool, but what about... like, what are the I mean, and you can't even see it here. I should have zoomed in at some point. I think I do a little bit later on. But you'll see, like, you'll see there's like a number. On some of the tanks there's 5. On some of the troops there's 20. Underneath that is another bar. That tells you their health. And above it, there's a little green arrow and a bullet. And that means that they can fire and they can shoot. Now, there's nothing that tells you that anywhere. You have no idea that that's what's going on. I thought it was one of those, because recently I've been playing XCOM and stuff like that, if you moved, you may not be able to shoot. You know, certain units, they could move and shoot. No idea, nothing to tell me about that. Which is fine. They've basically said, look, you know, you're going to be... it's almost like if you're a Warhammer fan, you're not going to care about that. You're just going to enjoy playing it because it's Warhammer. And if you're a fan of their other titles, well, then you already know all this. You don't need to worry about it. Which is kind of... is a little bit annoying. But, and this is what I'm going to say a lot, I kind of forgive it because it's Warhammer 40k. Now, let's get the objective goggles on. Is it as good as my very, very, very favourite Warhammer 40k game? And that is Final Liberation. Many would have gone, Dawn of War? No. Actually, Final Liberation is my favourite. Even though it is from back in the day. God, is that like 92? Is it earlier? Later? I'm trying to think. 92 is stuck in my mind for some reason. And funnily enough, many people will look at this and go, yeah, I can see why you think of this like Final Liberation, because it looks like fucking 1992 graphics. Yes, the graphics are pretty. The graphics are nice. The actual, if you, there we go. I zoomed in at the perfect time. If you actually look at the tanks and the troops, they're really nicely done, really pretty. You know, they just look really good. The orc stuff looks good. The little walkers are cool, but as you can see, just then, there's no animation. Come on, guys, really? Like, it's... Civilization, okay? You could move units about, no animation. Then, they were like, let's put animation in. Really, you couldn't put animation in. You lose. The only animation you get is literally from them firing. And it's kind of... it's such a shame because they're so pretty, they're so gorgeous that, I mean, I end up zooming all the way out. That's where I play mostly, so I don't have to see the fact that there's no movement animation. And I know many will say, "Oh, you're being so elitist. You want it to look like and play like Crisis," and it's not Crisis. It's a hex-based game. Come on, Grim, don't be so elitist. And I'm not. I am one of those people that can play a game, and I don't really give a flying fuck about graphics. I could play the original Civilization, the one where you can actually make your own castle. I could go back and play that, and I would be like a pig in poop. Graphics aren't the be-all and end-all for me. I rate gameplay far above that. And talking about gameplay, one of the most annoying things about this is the fact that you cannot keybind anything. The options are really, really limited. Like, really limited. For graphics and stuff, there's basically nothing. You play in a borderless window. You can't really change anything. It's almost like an ISO game. It's like it feels really limited in stuff you're capable of doing. There's an option where, again, going back to this, above the units there's a move and fire. There's an option for you can fire, and it will tell you that you haven't moved, but there's no option at the end to say you've moved or haven't fired. And sometimes the firing's more important because you may move a unit to flank, swap to another unit to open fire on the unit you've just flanked because you want to see whether you've damaged it. Because say the unit that's just flanked might have more options targeting. You destroy it and you move on, and you're like, you completely forgot that unit that flanked, that's in a really good position to take out so many units and weaken them, and you don't fire and you forget, and it's like, and it's annoying. But they're the things that if I wasn't a Warhammer fan, I would have a real issue of. And I know right now I've bashed and bashed and bashed. You guys will be like, whoa. Grim was like, this is a really good game, and this is going to be really fun, this could be really cool. And now he's like, pooped all over it. So, and I apologise. I'm trying to get my negatives out the way, and I'm trying to be as honest and fair as possible. Because I don't want to just go, oh, it's Warhammer 40k and I love it and it's wonderful, yay! Because I could quite easily do that. But I'm trying to be honest, for if you're not a Warhammer 40k fan, I think you'll play this and you will be unimpressed. You'll be unimpressed with the graphics, with the options, you'll be just overall not a fan. Because you go and play any of their other games, you can play Panzercorps, which is what this is based on, and you could go and have just as good a time. I would play Panzercorps and I'd be like, I'm bored of this doesn't do it for me. I play this and I enjoy it because it's Warhammer 40k, and that's, as I said at the very beginning, that's what it comes down to, is that I enjoy this because it's a Warhammer 40k game. I don't necessarily enjoy it because of the core game, if you see what I mean. But, and here is the big, huge, massive but, which is why we'll get to what I was about to say, but this is the huge but. Okay, the huge but is the fact that they have made this so that it can be very moddable. Also, you can see that this is meant to have DLC after DLC after DLC. It's meant to have things layered on top. You're going to be able to have, you know, the various races put in. You're going to have the Tau. You're going to have all sorts of races added into the game, and with that will come new options. You know, maybe they'll start animating stuff. Also, they have said, and this is a huge thing, that modding. They are going to just go crazy with modding, guys. We are going to let you have the best modding toolkit you can possibly have. Now, as I say, this isn't my game, so I wasn't able to get in and have a look to see if that's there or what's going on. But they've said modding will be in the game. It's going to be a huge part of the game. And that is where I believe the saving grace is. Because, as you know with games like Civilization, it is the creativity of the community that push those games above and beyond. It's the stuff that I believe the community's going to come out with. I'm sure somebody will work on, if the studio doesn't, animated units. I would happily see less units in the game because there are a shit ton of units. Less units, but with more options. Because, for instance, there's Titans in this game, which is awesome. You know, it really is good to see Titans. First time I can recall since Final Liberations that they put Titans in a Warhammer game, and it's really cool to see them, but you have no options over what their loadouts are. You have no options over any loadout. They've almost done it that here is a Lehman Russ battle tank, and you're like, okay, that's a Lehman Russ. Then you look at the page, and there's like another 30 different Lehman Russ tanks to pick from, and there's really no difference. You look at them and you can see the stats, and you're like, okay, so that's a Lehman Russ, and that's a Lehman Russ variant, and that's an Armageddon pattern Lehman Russ. Okay, that's cool. That Lehman Russ has got a plasma cannon rather than a laser cannon. Okay, but you don't really grasp why, you know, what the difference is. You can look at the stats. What you would prefer is if you had a Lehman Russ battle tank, and you could click on that Lehman Russ, and you could adapt the loadout yourself. If you could have a Reaver Titan, and you could adjust the loadout to suit, I would prefer less units, but more that I cared about those units. More, you know, I could name my Reaver. I know it seems stupid, but I could name my Reaver, and it would have the loadout I wanted. It could be my anti-Titan loadout, or I could have another Reaver, and I could name that something else, and that could be my anti-personnel loadout Titan. It would be nice to have those options, and I believe that they will come. And I truly believe that when they do, and the DLCs from the studio, and when the community mods start coming out, this game is going to be, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so much variety, so many options coming out, especially if they bring more races in, as I say, and the animation. They're my two biggest thing, is the animation, and I'd like to see more from the other races, even from the orcs, because in the campaign you can play as the orcs, but you can't play as the orcs in every mission. You literally have, say, there's like 30 missions. You've got, say, 2 or 3 that can be played by the orcs, which is a real shame. Any of you who've seen my early videos will know there's a big hulking orc on the front, and Grim comes from my time of playing Warhammer when I played as an orc character. So it's kind of a shame you can't play more of the orcs. You can play online, but I didn't get a chance because you got to register. My friend hadn't registered, so I didn't get a chance to play online and see what that was all about. So, the big one, is it worth the £21 they are asking for? And I would say that if you're a Warhammer fan, yes, it is worth it. If you are not, then no, but keep a very close eye, because once the DLCs start coming in, once the community stuff starts coming in, this game will be a goer for everyone, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Thanks for watching, everyone, and hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you later.